Okay, this is when it gets to the really good part. Oh, I don't know how you guys are going to react to this. Hello everyone and welcome back to All About Steph 1 with me, Steph. Welcome back. Happy 2024. We're kicking things off this year, as always, with the predictions ahead of this F1 season, which kicks off this weekend. Honestly, every year when I film this video, I want to change my answers as I'm going through. But I'm looking at them, I'm looking at my predictions, and do you know what? I feel quite confident with them. I don't want to change them. Kicking it off, let's start with the Constructors' Championship. I don't think I'm going to surprise anyone by saying that Haas is coming in last place, followed by Sauber in 9th. I think these look like the two weakest teams so far from pre-season testing. And I also think they have two of the weakest driver lineups. That's not to say those four drivers aren't talented. I just think the Formula 1 grid nowadays is chocked full of amazing drivers, and these four are some of the weakest. In 8th we have Alpine, which I feel have been a very forgettable team as of late. 2023 wasn't the best season for them, and I think that trend will continue into 2024. Next up, there's Williams. I think they will get off to a slow start in 2024, but towards the end of the season tend to be tracks that they do quite well on. I think Williams will show odd little bits of excellence here and there, but overall be towards the back of the grid, even though I do feel like they're making steps to become more competitive each year that progresses, but no magical fix just yet. Up next is VCarb/RB. I want to call it VCarb. I like that, but everybody else seems to be calling it RB, which to me just sounds like Red Bull. Anyway, this is not the video that I'm going to start beefing what people are calling this team, but I don't think they're going to be too bad this year. And spoiler alert, I do think they'll have 3 drivers throughout the season. Okay, cracking at the top 5, we have Aston Martin. This team could be higher, but unfortunately there's a driver that brings the team down, not naming names. The next 3 teams on the list I think will have a very close battle throughout the entire year, and I've found it quite difficult to place them where I thought they were going to go. In 4th I've gone with Mercedes, 3rd I've gone with McLaren, and 2nd I've gone with Ferrari. I do feel like McLaren is, again like 2023, going to create an overall pretty strong package towards the end of the season as they keep bringing in these upgrades. Ferrari, I do feel, have the strongest package of the 3 of these teams. It definitely looks like they've fixed some of those issues that was going on last year, particularly with tyre wear and sensitivity of that car. It looks a bit more predictable. The front end looks to be a lot more direct. Honestly, these 3 could end up anywhere. That means we've got Red Bull at number 1. Honestly, I don't think this is going to come as a surprise to anyone. They've just absolutely nailed these regulations and just seem leaps and bounds ahead of the rest of the field. Alright, on to the good stuff. I know you guys are all wondering in which order I have put the drivers, so without further ado, here we go. In 21st, and yes, that is 21st, I've gone with Logan Sargent. I feel as though this is going to be his last season in Formula 1, and although he's made many leaps forward, I think Williams need a better partner to match Alex Albon in order to kind of move further up the field. In 20th and 19th, I've gone for both of the Haas drivers, with Nico Hülkenberg ahead of Kevin Magnussen. I do think he's the stronger of the 2 drivers, but as I said before, I don't think the Haas is going to be a very competitive package. Maybe they'll sneak a few 11th places, maybe a random 9th on a sprint weekend. We'll have to wait and see. We've got 2 teammates next to each other again. Zhou Guanyu, followed by Valtteri Bottas slightly ahead of him. Again, like I said, the Sauber I don't think is the most competitive package on the grid, and I think these 2 will struggle to score points on an overall very competitive field. Next up, we've got Esteban Ocon, who I believe will be the weaker of the 2 Alpine drivers, maybe have a bit of bad luck. That's why he's all the way down there. 15th is when it gets interesting, okay? I have put Liam Lawson. I do think that at some point in the year he will end up in the AlphaTauri. He did such a great job for the few races that he was replacing Daniel Ricciardo in 2023, and we'd be lucky to have him on the grid. As for who he's replacing, I'm sure all will become clear as we migrate through this video. In 14th, Pierre Gasly, the stronger of the Alpine drivers, I believe. But again, down in the bottom half of the field, as I just believe the Alpine is not going to be the best package. You know, we might see some points here and there, but definitely not consistent point scorers throughout 2024. 13th, Alex Albon. I'm expecting a few good results from him and Williams. It does seem like he's really the person that's pushing that team forward alongside team principal James Vowles. I think they're a great partnership and they're going to do some really great things together in the coming years, starting with 2024. In 11th, it's Yuki Tsunoda. Again, as we've seen Yuki in the past few years, I do think he's been getting stronger and stronger, and I don't know, To me, it looks like the RB is actually a very strong car this year. It does look very planted and carries a lot of similarities from the Red Bull last year, good or bad. Yeah, I can see this being Yuki's most successful season so far. Rounding out the bottom half of the grid, we have Lance Stroll. I do believe that he's just not at the level of the drivers ahead of him, and being teammates with someone like Fernando Alonso is really exposing him and his weaknesses. While Fernando Alonso last year was able to extract so much from that Aston Martin, Lance Stroll just wasn't able to do the same thing, and 2024 I just believe is going to be a complete replay. Okay, alright, okay, this is when it gets to the really, really good part. Oh, I don't know how you guys are going to react to this. 10th is Sergio Perez. In my opinion, Sergio Perez will not last the full season in the Red Bull. I think he'll be dropped halfway through the season, and this will be the last time we see Sergio Perez on the F1 grid. Checo is a brilliant driver, and I genuinely believe that. I just think he's been exposed a little bit alongside Max Verstappen, which anyone would be because Max is driving at such a high level. But Checo struggles in qualifying, and I do think if he continuously is being knocked out in Q2 or makes it to Q3 but is not very much at the front end of the field, I think Red Bull are going to struggle to justify maintaining him as a teammate alongside Max Verstappen when they're coming under threat from teams like Ferrari and McLaren, who might have very competitive package on certain weekends and will be coming away with a larger points haul. In reality, Max will probably win the championship on his own, spoiler alert, but I don't think Red Bull are willing to take that risk and will end up dropping Sergio somewhere in summer. I think it gets a bit difficult now as we head into the next few drivers because they're very similarly talented, I'd say, and in cars that I do think are going to be hit and miss on certain weekends. I think, you know, there'll be weekends where Ferrari are stronger, there'll be weekends where Mercedes are stronger, there'll be weekends where McLaren are stronger. So I do think this is a difficult set of drivers to place. In ninth, I've gone with George Russell, with Carlos Sainz just ahead of him. In comparison to both of their teammates, I do think they are the slightly weaker driver. That's not to say they are weak drivers. They are both very talented in their own right and both very skilled drivers. Carlos, particularly, is a very all-round, well-calculated driver, I'd say. It's genuinely nothing against them. I just think we'll see better results from the drivers ahead of them. In P7 is Daniel Ricciardo. If I'm being totally honest, when Sergio Perez gets dropped, he's getting dropped for Daniel Ricciardo. Daniel knows that team inside out. He's been there for donkey's years. They're not going to replace Sergio Perez with Yuki Tsunoda. He's not as predictable, I'd say, in the new team environment, whereas Red Bull know exactly what they're getting with Daniel Ricciardo. This isn't going to say he's going to magically be winning races all over the place, but I think the Red Bull will be significantly fast enough for him to rack up a fair few points towards the end of the year when he gets in that seat. Top 6 time. In 6th, it's Fernando Alonso. Very capable driver who is top 3 best drivers on the grid right now. I think he's going to take the Aston Martin as far as it can possibly go. Probably finish around about 6th. Up next, Oscar Piastri, the little Australian golden retriever. He's going to have a great season. I just don't predict it being as good as Lando Norris. It's a bit of an interesting one between himself and Lewis Hamilton, who have actually put in 4th. As we've seen over the course of a couple of years, he's been partnered with George. I do believe that Lewis overall has been a more comprehensive driver and been able to extract more out of that package, especially under the pressures that come with driving for Mercedes. This is again on George. He hasn't coped as well with the pressures of being at the front of the grid, whereas Lewis, he knows exactly what it's like. I do think he'll be able to be consistently on the podium when that Mercedes is there or thereabouts. Alright, on to the top 3. I've gone with Lando Norris in 3rd. Yes, I do believe this might be the year that we finally see Lando Norris get a win. It's something we've been waiting for years. It feels like it's been such a long time coming. I can just see him snatching that win, maybe even at Silverstone, on home soil, you never know. In 2nd, Charles Leclerc. We know that he is an unimaginably fast driver and will do very well in qualifying. I can predict that he might, I don't know, he might win the DHL fastest lap award for DHL pole position award for getting the most pole positions in a year. He does very well in qualifying, and if he can consistently be qualifying up towards the front of the grid, I see no reason why he wouldn't remain towards the front of the grid throughout a race and end up on a podium. I think, again, this probably might be his best season as well. Last but not least, of course, on the top step, we have Max Verstappen. Who else could it be? I genuinely can't imagine another driver taking the win this year and taking home that driver's trophy. Could you imagine? That's what, 21, 22, 23, 24, that's 4 in a row. So there you have it. Those are my predictions for 2024. Let me know if you agree in the comments. I'm also, this year, going to write 2024 bold predictions. I'm going to write 5 bold predictions down in here, and then come the end of the season, we'll open it up together and see how many of them I actually got right. But I think I've done some bold predictions in here, starting with, you know, the whole seat swap situation, so we'll see if that pans out how I expect it to. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me. Regular content is incoming. 2024 is a season where All About Steph 1 is coming back with a bang. I hope you are all well. Make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss the next video. Like the video if you enjoyed it, and leave me a comment, let me know if you agree. And I will see you in the next one. Bye guys.